Hello, colleagues who have joined us recently. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Today we have a couple of additional webinars that are related to a BA Excellence Conference that is conducted by the Global BA community. Except for our current event, an event on the topic Product Renaissance involving excellence and driving innovation will be held in a couple of hours today. So all the necessary links to the conference page, additional webinars, and the recording of on the conference itself you can find in the description below. And now I would like to invite our speaker, Andrew, with the topic Why do I take developers to customers interviews? Andrew worked as a product manager on a number of big data products, and currently he is a senior product manager at Booking.com. And today he will tell you why developers in his team participate in customer interviews and other discovery activities. And his team discovered that shared content might be even more crucial for development velocity than uninterrupted focus. So, hi, Andrew, and how are you?
Hi, hello. Really glad to be here and really glad to speak to so many analysts, product managers. I don't know which roles are also present in the conference. Hopefully, some developers. And today I wanted to talk to you about shared context, about how it is important for the team to communicate on the level below than just literally what we're going to build, to share much more information.
Great. Maybe we can start with just a small question from my side and give a couple of minutes to join us. So, from your experience, and at what point do you feel that you need to change approaches to the project management, and the team management as a whole?
Well, generally, I think those thoughts come when you don't have nice results. Because if the team delivers the results, then yeah, everybody is happy and nobody wants to change anything, at least in the team dynamics. But if you feel that there is something wrong and the team is not delivering on the expectations, then definitely you are thinking, okay, what is wrong? What can I do to help the team move faster and deliver more?
Great. Okay, so a couple of additional technical moments from our Global Bay community side, and then we will start. The session is being recorded, and the recording will be available after the end of this session. After our presentation, we will have a Q&A session. You can send questions to the chat or leave them on the agenda page, so feel free to ask your questions or express your opinion. Also, please rate our talk if you liked it and put your likes here. And now I suppose that we can start our session. Andrew, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. First, let's maybe a couple of words about myself, because I feel that I need to build the trust with the audience that I have, to make you feel that actually I know what I'm talking about. I'm a product manager for almost 10 years now. I started as a project manager, but I was a very bad project manager. Everything falls out of my hands. I'm really bad at organizing, but hopefully I recognized pretty soon that there is another role called product manager, and I started as a product manager in Yandex. I took lead of the product which was related to real estate, and then I worked in several products, and now I'm working in Booking.com. In Booking.com, I worked in several roles, so which covers finance, partner-facing products, customer-facing products. So quite a lot. This is why I like our role, because you can switch a lot and have a lot of different experience. You can see while I'm talking about myself, you can see there is a small QR code. If you scan it, you can actually join a channel where I write my thoughts about product management. Also as a mentor and author of some educational materials on product management. But usually I talk to people about data and about how should use analytics to drive your product decisions, because this is what I do generally, and this is what I believe in. And you can see from my career trajectory that I kind of try to stick to big products where you can have a lot of data. But today I chose a topic which is quite different. I'm maybe a bit surprised, but I want to talk to you how important it is to build more shared context with your team. Let me explain. I don't believe in giving you just the final thought, the conclusions which I have. I want to lead you through the story, so bear with me for a moment. I believe that if you see the evolution, how I went to it, then most probably you will get much more from it, and not just the dry outcomes. So when I just started to be a product manager, I had this question. Yeah, there are a lot of videos about that, like what do the product managers do? And this question is very valid, and actually a lot of people do ask this from themselves, because our role is very broad. You could be a visionary product manager, which just generates ideas and passes them over to some teams. You could be a product manager who is more like project manager, who is more delivery product manager. You could be a product manager in a space where basically you execute on somebody else's plan. There's plenty. You can be technical product manager, which does study his customers in totally different manner, and still they are product managers. So this role is quite broad. But how did I see what I should do as a product manager when I just started my career? The main people whom I worked with were the software engineers. So I thought, okay, to be a good product manager, actually, I need to be a very effective partner to my software engineers in the team. Because here's my thought process. How do we create value? How do product teams create value? Actually, we only create it when we do alter our products, right? We deliver something which helps solve problems for our customers, and this is how we create value. So I need to make sure that this production of features of code, production of the new increments to the product works efficiently. So to be a good product manager, I need to become a very effective partner to let my software engineers be the most productive, do the most. And how did I envision this? I thought that my main objective is to actually shield the team and create for them productive, focused environment. So I did my best to shield them from external communication. I took this on myself. I was talking to all the stakeholders, tried to align everybody before going to my team. I was actually this, a little bit protective, like, why are you talking to my developer? Maybe I should be involved. Maybe I should decide these. Don't distract him. He's coding. I also tried to remove all the interruptions. For example, if a developer needs something for their team, I was happy to pick this up and take care of this communication, remove the blocker, remove the interaction. This is how I saw my job. Of course, there are mundane tasks like, I don't know, keeping the task organized, keeping all the rituals, meetings, all the meeting minutes and so on, keeping track of the action points. This was all on me. And maybe the main thing which I realized I was doing, I was trying to shield my team from the uncertainty. And here I want to stop a little bit, because I think this is actually very fundamental. If you ask me, this uncertainty is maybe the most fundamental thing to the product manager role at all. Maybe the most fundamental thing to the product development at all. I was trying to shield my team from the uncertainty. But why is there uncertainty? Because genuinely, we don't know exactly what do we need to build. And even when we are building it, we are not sure that we are building the thing which we need to build, we should be building. And actually, to be honest, there is no way to get away from this uncertainty. This is fundamental. This is inevitable in the product development. Before you develop something, before you deliver this to your clients, there is no way to know that you're on the right track. And I remember, again, back in the days, I still met a lot of people in the industry, in the IT industry, where they thought of this process of the software building in waterfall style. They thought, okay, you need to really think hard as a product manager and then come up with the requirements, and then we will build it. Still, in some parts of the industry, you can see this approach. But generally, of course, well, this is not so popular, but I still remember myself writing a lot of documentation, thinking things through. I was asked to, if a team encountered some uncertainty and said, oh, actually, you didn't think this through. How should we build it? This is very bad on your side. You should be analyzing better, so please remove it. So also the team had this ask to remove the uncertainty for them, to give them exact specification of what they should build, so they would be effectively building this. But Of course, then on my lifetime in my career, this agile revolution happened when we realized that actually this is not a way to go. Even if you push really hard for a person to think, analyze, they cannot come up with best software specification. They cannot come up with this knowledge of what we should build. And there are more effective ways to deal with this, and this is the agile approach. Yes, ship as early as possible, start with do very fast iterations, get the feedback as soon as possible. You cannot think about the product development currently without this cycle. Actually, this approach is very much dominant. I think maybe if you're building a medical equipment, if you're building something for the deep banking backend, or maybe, I don't know, in space, then maybe you would be still doing it in the waterfall style. But most of the web development, most of the consumer products are developed in this agile way. Because what is important for us, the feedback, right? We need to know how does it go? Do customers find it useful? Can they use it? Are we hitting the right problem? So we cannot develop without knowing all this. But at the moment, I thought that, there's the Hari cycle. I need to hypothesize. I need to listen to the feedback, but still I need to somehow make the environment for my team to be productive. But developers cannot be productive if they cannot be productive if they're thinking about the uncertainty. They don't know what to build. So if they're starting to think together with me about what they should build, then they're not effective in coding, right? They cannot do both at the same time. To be effective at coding, they need to receive finally this instruction as a processor. They need to receive specific instruction, like build this. Here's the specification. I thought it's true. I deliver it to you. Why in general we use the agile? Because of the balance of risk and value, right? Because in case we start doing too much assumptions and we don't ship, we don't listen to feedback, we could be going very long in the wrong direction. And we don't want to do this, because this is a big risk. We are spending a lot of effort of our team, a lot of resources onto something which might not be actually the thing which we need, or maybe a little bit misinformed. So we want to have this feedback as soon as possible that we are doing something wrong or something not wrong. So you can see how hard was it for me. I thought, okay, my developers need to know specifically what they need to build. But I'm facing myself in my role. I'm facing a lot of uncertainty. I don't know what to build, and I think this is inherent in my role. There is no cheating about it or avoiding it. I think that I'm talking now to a lot of people who do the development for some external customers, right? I think your situation is even harder than mine, because I'm sitting in-house. Actually, this question is for my whole organization, like, what should we build? In your case, the question of what should we build is a little bit for your customer. I mean, your business customer, the one who orders the development, right? And now it is also inherent in your relationship with your customer. So the customer doesn't know exactly what they need, but still they need to somehow engage you in this process, and they might pass on some uncertainty to you. They might pretend that they know exactly what they want, but then maybe they will end up with a product which doesn't completely fulfill the market need. It's very hard. How did I decide to go with my developers? I decided that, okay, there is a line, and line goes right through me. So uncertainty comes to me, but I pass on to the developers mostly the tasks which I thought through, and at least I made some agreement with myself, with the product leadership, that, okay, we are now trying to build this, and this way I made my team much more effective, because they received specific instructions, they could effectively execute on them. They didn't think about, oh, what should we build? They were building. And then I was responsible to get the feedback, say, oh, that is not exactly what we should have built. Let's change the course a little bit. Let's forget this line. Let's pick that line, and so on. So this was completely on me. And this was quite for a while, and also maybe a little bit the team which I'm working was influenced me a little bit, because they were like I don't know, maybe it was education, maybe it was a cultural spirit, maybe it was company culture. They were this kind of, okay, we are the development, you are the business, you tell me what you want, and we will deliver on that. So we only we think that we should be developing the code good, and actually we think that we do a good job. In case we develop good, we don't have bugs, we deliver quickly, and yeah, it works. So there was like the business was on my side, the development was on their side, and there was like a clear separation. But then after changing the company and moving to another company, I actually realized that not all the developers are those robots who really want to just develop things, who need clear specifications, and who want to keep coding and only care about like the quality of the code, the stability of the system, and so on. They are not always like that. Actually, it was a cultural shock for me because the team I started to work with was so much into the product development. I'll be honest with you, for the first couple of weeks, I thought that what I am doing here. Most of the developers on my team know the product craft good enough to do a good job without me. I don't know what should I do because they understand everything. They know about customer. When you ask them to do something, they ask you which metric, which will this impact? Why do you think this? Did you consult with I don't know a customer fear or customer segment which we have in mind? They were really good at it. So I realized that there are actually two axes for software developers' maturity. So one goes along the technical side. It's about like how good is the code, how much of complex task they can take on, how complex architecture they can develop, and so on. They can maybe use the bleeding edge technologies like machine learning and so on. This is the technical axis. But the other axis is actually something like I think we call it business awareness or commercial awareness. This is exactly that, understanding of the product. And I learned that there are a lot of developers who are really good at their craft. They're good developers, but still they have a lot of curiosity about what they're developing, and they do care deeply. So they won't accept the task. They will bombard you with questions. Okay, why do you think this is a good? Do you have examples? Did you hear this in your interviews? Do you have any analytics to prove that this is a problem and we should solve it this way? First, I was a little bit, maybe even jealous because it's my turf. It's my role in the organization. But very quickly, I actually stopped being protective of my area, and I felt that actually this creates a very much more effective collaboration. I don't need to spend a lot of time like writing specific documentation for them. Actually, I can talk to them on a very high level. They understand what I am up to. Why do I take certain decisions? They can support me a lot. And if you stop being protective, if you allow this a little bit exchange of scopes, then this collaboration becomes very effective. Those developers are pretty customer focused. They really think about the customer, and this also has a side effect that you don't need to explain them a lot. They think customer first. They can totally like go through the customer journey and say, okay, this is not effective, I will change this. Or why do they do this? We should fix it before deploying. Because this is how they think. Maybe more like they also understand the product management. Also, those developers, they really want to know how people use what they build. So they are really demanding, like, what is the analytics? Okay, we released the feature 2 days ago. What is the usage? What do you know? Which people do use it? Does it lead to a higher conversion? So I needed to feed them back this information. And they were actually eager to participate in product discovery. So this this part I took as a title of my topic, but I was really surprised. So the developers, they didn't say, "Oh, there is another meeting. You're distracting us from coding." They were saying, "Okay, you do the discovery. Okay, we're going to be part of it. We're going to participate. We're curious. We want to know what's happening, where we're going, what we're building, for whom." And if you look at the results, for example, for the brainstorming, because, well, generally it's a team activity, right? Everybody comes up with ideas. Usually I write them down. Then we have a list. But then we score it all together. But I sometimes I noticed that the best ideas, they came from actually developers on my team, not from me. And I think this is totally okay. If you are not, if your team culture, if your team maturity is really good, you don't really care. But this is how it goes. If you have a customer product which everybody can understand, if you are developing, I don't know, an MRI machine, then probably only doctors understand really well how it works and what is the usage scenario. But in this case, we were working on a very common customer product which everybody could relate to. So they had the same chances of generating a good idea as I did. And I realized that actually my job is not to generate the best ideas. My job is to organize this process, to make sure all the analytics is there, that we do the brainstorming, that we capture it, that we transform it into the backlogs. So I'm responsible for the decision-making process, but not for making the decision. I'm not making the decision. Actually, the team makes the decision, and this is pretty effective. I am responsible for organizing this process. And yeah, maybe I have much more time to spend on higher level vision than developers, of course, but still, I'm not trying to say that, okay, the decisions belong to me. This is, they belong to my role. So yeah, I will have I don't know, last say on what we are going to do. And then I started thinking, like, why is that? Why those developers, they don't actually spend less time developing something, writing code, but still as a team, it feels like that we are much more effective. With a team, we were super fast. I could come up with an idea in the morning and we could deploy it literally in the evening. It was a super fast collaboration. And when I started to think about this process, yeah, it's an iceberg model. So what you are talking about with your team explicitly, like, okay, we need to build this button, we need to deliver this feature. This is only the top of the iceberg. But behind the scenes, there's a lot of things happening which you as a product manager probably don't see. You don't see how does the data structure evolves, which powers your product. You don't see, I don't know, the naming conventions, the code structure. But those are a lot of decisions which developers need to take, and they cannot consult with you directly. If they come to you and say, okay, which data should I put to the NoSQL database and which data I should put to the SQL database, you won't have a good answer because most product managers don't understand that well. But if you give the developers the right deep context, they will do a lot of those decisions which they need to do themselves in a right way, just because they have good understanding what we are building, how it can develop, which hypothesis do we have, where we could be going. Oh, I feel that this doesn't really work out, so I better not spend too much time refactoring this part because there is a high chance that it's going to be deprecated. It doesn't seem that it's really going well. And this thing, I think it works. So when I code it, maybe I'll put a little bit more foundation so that it will be easier for me to scale in case it really flies. So I just felt that those decisions, they started to be made in a really effective manner. I felt that my developers, they understand all those things and they say, oh, yes, I'm really glad to hear that this feature flies because I have really good foundations. Now it's very easy for me to scale. I expected that you will say that now we need it in all countries, so I already put in the foundations. So this will be ready in 2 days. Yeah, I think this model of communication with the team, yeah, the iceberg model is about this huge piece of information which is seemingly not really directly important to the work which the developers, the QA testers, maybe the data analysts are doing. But if you still feed them this information, if you make sure through different rituals for different actions that they have all those information, then actually your team becomes much more efficient. I don't have a very good way to measure it. One thing which I did, and I think it's pretty curious, yeah, try asking your developers about, okay, explain our product. Why do we build this? Yeah, try to see if they can tell you back the story and if they tell it right. If they don't, then most probably they don't have enough context. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that now developers on my team can tell the story maybe as good as I can, because we keep talking about this, and I think that this is not a waste of time. This is actually very effective. I always have this metaphor that, yeah, imagine that you need to get from one side, one coast to the other coast, and the map which I have in my mind, like all those understanding of the market, of the customers, of what could we build, what is the roadmap, is one piece of the map. And what the developers have, like the current structure of the product, which parts should be restructured or refactored, this is the other part of the map. And when we are communicating to make our way, to pave our way through this continent, as a team, effectively, we need to have the both sides of the story at the same time, at the same table, to make effective decisions. So this is what we're doing, and the more overlap we're having, the better we are at doing this. Because I'm saying, okay, what if they do this? They say, okay, there is a really bad road here, don't go this. Okay, maybe this way. They say, oh yes, there is a highway, this is easy. So we need both parts of the story to make a lot of effective decisions, because sometimes I can say, okay, these and these, they look really similar in terms of perspectives, and the developer will say, okay, the second option is actually very easy to run and fits better with our current architecture than if from my side the bets are pretty much the same. I would say, okay, let's go with the second option. It seems more plausible. Yeah. Another model which I have is something like this. Maybe not with all developers, but at least with my main counterpart, with the team lead. I need to have this kind of solid body diffusion. I need to understand a little bit what he is up to, why he is using certain technologies, what is the current architecture. He needs to understand a little bit the decisions on my side. So we are talking a lot. We spend time to discuss everything and give him not just the decision, but the rationale behind the decisions, the data point behind the decisions. So we do this blend of our crafts to be able to take those decisions effectively together. Maybe to give you an example, we had a very, very simple feature. Okay, let's give a discount. Yeah, everybody loves discounting. You know that discounting can drive the conversion up. It drives the average purchase down. So, but the only way to understand if economically this is feasible or not, you need to make experiments, because this balance of how much the conversion does go up, how much does the average purchase go down, to see this balance, you need to basically experiment. If you just tell the developer, okay, let's give a discount, he would write something like, okay, the total price equals 1 minus discount times total price. He will be right. Actually, this is effective developer. But if you feed him more information, he could understand, oh, actually, as a next step, most probably you will tell me that don't apply this to every position in the bill, in the invoice, only apply it to the items, but for example, not to delivery or not to something else. And also don't apply it to the items which already have a discount. So by understanding what could be your next tasks, he can, when he's building the first part, he can immediately say, okay, I won't be applying the discount to the whole order. I will apply it to the individual items. And if we are a marketplace, you can say, okay, if this thing flies, you will offer all the partners to give discounts. So I need to make sure that this works scalable way. And as a next step, we can allow any partner to give any discount on his items. So by providing this context, by providing him, talking to him about what is the roadmap, what is the product strategy, you can let the developers take much more decisions behind the scenes, which will lead to much faster development in the future. How do we put this to practice? How can we build this shared context? I can list some of the activities. I think this is the main interactions where we build it. So first one is, I will stop on it a little bit in detail. Let me read through, and then I'll go through the list one by one. So I want to make sure that when I do the product discovery, that my team is present, and that it's not like waiting somewhere for me to bring the roadmap, which they won't read through because it's pretty boring, the outcome. No, I want them to be involved in the process. When we do prioritization, I make 100% sure that everybody understands that this is a team exercise. It's not a product manager or product owner, how do you call it, who prioritize the backlog. No, we do it together. And I listen to them and I hear them. And for example, I never drop a word in the effort column, right? This only comes from the team, from my team. In the impact, I'm not saying, okay, only I define this. They can have a say in the impact, in the confidence. We do it together as a team. I don't write very lengthy descriptions. I don't in details prescribe. Actually, with my team, I can afford to say, okay, let's give a discount and let them figure out the execution in a lot of things, because I trust them, because they have the context. But I'm sure that I will provide a lot of context, like why do we think that's a good idea? What are the possible next steps? What are we looking for as a result of the first step? I believe giving this information is much, much more effective than trying to prescribe like what you should implement. And when I communicate to the team, for example, if you think about the sprint planning or sprint review, mostly it's about the board and the tickets, right? You discuss, okay, what did we do? What did we not do? What are the plans for the next sprint? But as a part of this, and I took this from some of my more senior colleagues, I bring several slides to give them update about the product, about what is happening in general, what other teams are doing, what are results of our specific part of the product. So I'm always spending the time with them to just see the updates. Some developers don't like it. The great developers, which are really effective in my area in this for those consumer products, they are really interested. They will listen and they will ingest this information, and they will actually mention that, okay, this was useful. Thank you for bringing this. And of course, if we do something, if we produce something, then I'm 100% sure to bring them the results, to make sure that everybody knows, okay, what was the outcome? Was it good? Was it bad? Was it maybe insignificant at all? Anything counts. It is important that the developers, they see not the outcomes of their actions, but the impact of their actions. Yeah, we built this. It was a really nice feature, but yeah, it didn't do anything to the metrics. Some people started using it, but this didn't improve our conversion. Well, sad, but this is a good learning. It's learning for everybody. And this thing that actually they drove insane impact, we should do more things like this. And then the developers will also come up, oh, let's do that, because the good developers, they care about the product, so they will be driven by these outcomes, by the impact they have on the lives of our customers. The customer interviews, usually they, if you operate under a very structured environment in a good lab, then they actually look like this. Not exactly like this. We don't use the two-sided mirror, but usually there is one person who actually is doing the interview. In my case, this is usually me or a professional UX researcher. Usually we switch. But then there is a room where you can just observe what's happening. Usually it's just a meeting room where on a big screen you have the process, you can see the customer, you can see the person who's conducting the interview. And if we think that we do, I don't know, a couple of days, maybe 4 hours in a row, those researches, the developers usually, one by one, they show up for 1 or 2 hours for a reasonable amount of time, but they will sit there, they will observe, they will see how the customers talk with me, how they use the product, or how they communicate with the researcher. And sometimes they volunteer to take notes, and then they share some observations which they found really curious, because this really drives up the involvements. And sometimes they will even, there's usually a back channel communication. You can tell the person who's conducting the interviews, like, okay, ask this, ask him to do this. So I will receive messages from them, and they're guiding me to probe something or make sure that the customer understands how it works, and so on. So this is a really effective process. And yeah, I'm really glad that our culture basically implies that they will be participating in this. And they don't, most of them don't think about it like an obligation. They're actually eager to participate. They find it interesting, and it is the thing where they build this deep context, deep understanding of the product they are working on. When we're on refinement meetings, when we talk about which things we're going to build, and they're trying to sketch and draw, like what here, I'm actually watching this thing, the metric of who speaks the most, because if the product manager speaks 50% of the time or more, this is not a very effective meetings. You have to make sure that you leave the room for your team to speak, that you hear them, that they actually share their ideas, that they share maybe some drafts of technical implementation. So I try to make sure that everybody speaks up, and that on average we speak, maybe I speak a little bit more than other team members, but in total much less than one half of the time. When I'm writing the tasks, I'm doing a lot of work to actually, if you look at how did we evolve, right, from the technical specifications which were there like in maybe 90s or early 2000s, then there is a lot of what you should build and not a lot of why. And as we evolved with our task setting techniques, we added more and more context, and that was beneficial. Yeah, if you look at, for example, the jobs to be done template, it talks only about why, but actually very little talks about what we should build. And I think this is a good evolution. So when you're working with a product which every developer can relate to, they use them themselves, then you need to provide much more of the context, much more of data points than actually what you need to build. Yeah, when I tried to write a bit more specific specification to my front-end developer, he said, what are you doing? You don't really know what you should do here. Yeah, don't even try. I will do it better. I know all the bricks which we have in our UI kit. I know everything. Explain me what should be what the user should accomplish, and I'll figure it out. And I was so, wow, this is the experience. This is how I want to work. I don't want to deep dive into this, like how the form should work, how the errors in the form should be processed. I want to think about what the customers should be accomplished. This is what I can do good in my role. When we are launching something, in most cases in my company, this is an experiment, and everybody watches that. I can tell you that almost every developer, they come early to the meeting, and before the stand-up, they will check the experiments, because when you build something and you get addicted to watching how it has the impact on the product, you really want it to go green, which means there's improvement. You're upset when it goes red, but even more you're upset when it's gray and basically it doesn't make any difference and nobody's using it. But still, this habit of watching what happens after you develop and delivered something, it creates this thinking much beyond the deployment, right? You think, okay, what is going to happen after I deploy it? I care what happened. Do people use it? Does it change their behavior? Does it change their behavior for good? Does it also bring some benefit for my company? I think this is a very good habit for the product managers. Not all product managers have it, but also for the developers, of course. And when I'm talking to developers, I'm talking, for example, about the sprint review, I have a slide, something like this, not so much heavy with the data, but a bit close to this. So I make sure that I give them some impression of, okay, what did we achieve so far? What are general health metrics for our area? Which metrics do we care about? What are our current priorities? So this is very important to build also their understanding of, how do we operate? Because then somebody comes to them and says, okay, please help me with this small feature. He can say, no, I won't, because this doesn't fall into my priorities. You see, I'm caring about these metrics. Or you can say, oh, yes, this is a great collaboration. It might affect the metric which we are talking about every week on our sprint plannings. So come in, let's do something together, even without talking to me, because he has this context and he understands which collaborations are super useful and which collaborations actually are not in our scope. So to summarize the practices which I do together with my teams, do the product discovery together. Make sure that when you do grooming prioritization, that everybody has a say, and they not just that you say, okay, what do you have to say, or what are your thoughts, and they say, I don't know, maybe that. Make sure that you find a way to let them really know that their input is welcome, because some developers who worked in a more, let's say, not so healthy environment, they might be a little bit hesitant. They're not used to being active in those meetings. make sure that you break this wall and you really make them involved, because this will also have direct impact in quality of their decisions and in their involvement. Usually, well, at least in my experience, people who are more involved personally with the product, so they care more, they are actually better developers because, well, their job motivates them a bit more. Maybe this is a personal observation. When you are writing the task, be sure to include a lot of context and explain why, and explain the next steps, and explain what impact do you expect, how the good looks like, not acceptance criteria, but I mean in terms of the impact on the real world outside of your product, on your customers, on your metrics, and so on. And communicate back the product metrics at the meetings from your side as a product manager. And if you deliver something, then make sure you spend plenty of time after a day, after a week, after 2 weeks, that you keep feeding back team this information. Okay, this was the impact of your actions. We delivered this. Unfortunately, it didn't fly. What are the learnings? We delivered that. It flight really well. What can we do similar to this? How can we build on this, on top of this success? I think that this creates a much better dynamic inside the team. Maybe I want to, just a few closing words about managing the team. When you're starting to communicate with the team in this way, drive the involvement. They start being product managers. They start questioning in a good way your decisions, challenging it. Sometimes it might feel even ineffective, right? So everybody is thinking about what we're going to do. In my experience, don't be afraid of it. Usually you can put this on a very productive process where the team has a say, understands all the reasoning behind your decisions, but doesn't get too much distracted from development, because they are naturally driven also to develop, right? When they understand what and why they're going to build, they also naturally want to spend more time developing. But this will create a certain corporate culture in culture in your team, right? It will change your relationship with your developers, I would say, for good. Some developers, I have seen stories like that, are uncomfortable. They actually want to know exactly what they are expected to build, and they want to be only evaluated on how good they build it, how good they write code. This is also okay. There are places where you can do that. You can work in infra, you can work in deeper backend, where you don't have to deal this much with uncertainty. But if you are driving a team which works directly on the front line with the customer, then I think a developer who is naturally more involved is a better fit for you. Also, this creates this, usually this breaks hierarchy. If this happens, if the change happens, then most of people start communicating all around. So remember, I told you I was trying to shield my team. It's not possible anymore because my team is very much autonomous. So everybody is talking, okay, I'll talk to developer in this team, I talk to data scientists in that team. They have a lot of connections. This might be ineffective. In my case, I think it is effective, because I couldn't do so much useful communications. I couldn't drive so much communications on their level, on the craft level, on technical level. So I feed them the context and I trust them to do a lot of autonomous work. I think this is effective. If you're interested in how to manage an organization like that, there is a pretty famous book about reinvesting organizations. Basically, the author claims that some kind of self-management of flat organizations are like the top of this evolution spiral, right? This is where we all should go. At least if we're talking about building those IT products where a small team can actually build something which millions used, where the best performing team and the worst performing team, they are very, very much different. I think this works really well. Because generally, if you're working with very smart developers, most of them, the superstars, the top 1%, they actually are very effective in case they're involved in the process, in the whole thing. They don't want to be product managers, but they want to be involved. They want to understand what they're building. So in a way, you shouldn't hire them to tell them what to do. You hire them because also they can tell you what you should do. They know they can solve problems in a ways that you cannot imagine. So don't limit your team to your own capacity. Don't become the bottleneck. Yeah, sometimes your developers can think of things which you are totally not capable of just because of your background, because this is not a product feature, but because they're using the technology in a ways which nobody used before. So you couldn't come up with that. So I really believe in empowering the team and the developers. And yeah, that this brings a lot of value to you, to yourself, and to your organization. I think I shared my story with you. How how did I arrive to those conclusions, and why now my developers definitely participate in customer interviews, and I think this is a super good use of their time. Yeah, you can see a QR code. I will remind you that this is a Telegram channel where I share my thoughts on product management. So if you like content like this, please subscribe. And yeah, glad to open the stage for the questions.
Thank you, Andrew, for your wonderful session. It was active and very interesting for me also as a business analyst. And we have a couple of questions, so let's start our Q&A session. Uh, I suppose that you've already answered this question, but maybe you just can summarize the main points here. So, product managers are not needed, as Brian Chesky said, if developers are so product and customer centric. Quick note: Brian Chesky is a co-founder and CEO of Airbnb.
Yeah, I was actually following in my channel. I shared this because I think this is a big thing. This sparks actually a very good discussion about like what is the role. But if you listen carefully to what Brian said in the first, he said that he's merging product management and product marketing management, and actually it makes a lot of sense. And we're also doing it some part of the organization. And then I really recommend that you listen to the podcast of Leni Rachitsky, because Brian Chesky came there and said, "Oh yes, I said something really controversial," and he really explains himself much better. So you can understand that he doesn't say that product managers are not needed. He has some vision of how the product development process should look like, and I think it's a pretty interesting one. Yeah, he puts much more emphasis on the designers and, to be honest, of what most people would call micromanagement. He wants to be involved in all the details. He basically himself approves. They also operate with big releases every half year. Not all the companies can do that. And actually, watching how Airbnb evolves, and for example, Booking.com evolves, you can from the first row observe the data-driven company versus design-driven company. And I'm not saying that either approach is good. Both approaches are totally valid. You can just, yeah, maybe do some conclusions for yourself. This is how data-driven design looks like. This is how design-driven design looks like. And you can place your bets on who is going to see more growth with their approach.
Yeah, thank you. Our next question. I understand from your lecture that this approach may work in case when developers want to participate in this activity. Have you had an experience participating in the interviews with non-motivated developers, or maybe you need to make them do it?
I don't really believe that you should make them do it. Again, I was a bit surprised that in some companies, the developers are naturally mostly crafted that way. So I think this also has to do with the interviewing and selection process, right? Because on the interviews, at least, yeah, when I asked around some years ago, Booking.com definitely had these questions about commercial awareness. The developers were supposed to describe like what is the business, what is who are the customers, and so on. So they should understand and basically be curious a little bit about the basic. But as I said, yeah, people like to do different types of jobs. So if the developer is not really interested in the customers, then maybe he's super interested in tech. Maybe then they should move to a team like which provides foundations, builds the infra, DevOps. Yeah, there are plenty of crafts and teams where you don't need to do this if you are not curious. I would say that if you want to do a breakthrough on the market, you should really select your team in this way and pick people who are naturally interested to do that.
Sounds great. Really, you can be very flexible with your colleagues and your team and try to find out the area of, I don't know, work or set of tickets, tasks that will be more applied for the natural interest and thoughts of this person.
Yeah, on a long term, I don't believe that people can actually do something which they're not really naturally motivated to do. yeah, if people are not interested in development, they won't become good developers. So if they're not interested in developing customer products, then most probably, yeah, they can force themselves for a couple of months, but they will suffer, and this won't be good for you, for the developer, for the company, for no one. So yeah, people as much as possible should find a place where they feel naturally motivated to do stuff. And I am super happy that there are developers that, yeah, can work with you side by side and be interested in the same stuff, like, yeah, developing products which really solve some tasks in a different way or in better ways.
Great. Our next question, what kind of speech will you prepare to present an invitation to your newly arrived developer to attend an interview? Maybe you can also provide some tips or tricks how you present this idea to a newly arrived developer.
If you mean how do I present this customer, I don't know, involvement into the customer discovery process, then generally I think this is solved in part in by the selection process. So while interviewing, as I said, I definitely know that at least some time ago we had a special section in the interview for that. So if you are super good at writing code, but for example, you demonstrate zero interest or zero understanding in how the products work, then yeah, for an infra team, this would be potentially a fit. For a customer-facing team, this won't you won't be a good fit. So yeah, probably here the selection would start. And yeah, as good interviewers say, the interviews are about first trying to understand who could be good in this role. Second, communicating to the candidate by the question you are asked. You can feel what is valued in this team, right? So if you get asked a lot of questions you are not really comfortable with, like, okay, what should we build? How do you think prioritization work? How does our business work? What do our customers want, and so on? You will naturally think this is a very strange opening. So it starts with the interviewing. When I greet the developer and the team, they schedule one-on-ones with everybody. Of course, other developers transfer the knowledge about, oh, this is what we're building, this is the tech stack, this is how do you set up the testing environment, this is how you deploy to production. And I'm responsible only to describing, like, what is our current product, what roles does it play in the larger organization, and what is our roadmap, what we are now trying to build, what is the metrics we're looking at, where we're trying to go. So yeah, I'm just explaining to them basically as I would to another product manager, and expect them to be at least a little bit curious and to listen to me, and yeah, generally do.
Great. Next question. Did you have any situations when the team did not want your facilitation taken into account, that they were product oriented and you had less experience they did? And how did you solve those situations?
So when I just joined my first really mature team, who was totally capable of driving the whole process without me, I was a bit even afraid, like they will realize that they don't need a product manager and they will, yeah, maybe get rid of me and operate on their own. But then I thought, okay, I'm here. My function is to add value. And then I found out that actually, yeah, I was used to working at very low level, making sure that the tasks got fed, that they're described well, the dependencies are resolved. If I don't need to do this or need to do this much less, what can I do to bring value to the team? And then I started really diving deep in the strategy, diving deep in the market research, diving deep in the analytics. So I'm bringing all those things to the team. So I'm not taking decision, not basically driving the backlog, but I'm bringing a lot of new information and the context to the team, so we could discuss something, having the data points. Yeah, on the prioritization, they can ask, oh, does anybody use this? Can you ask the team actually if they had success with this? And then it's, yeah, I go there, I talk, I hear them, and then I can bring some very short summary to my team. Yeah, I talked with them, actually this didn't fly, and they're going to close it, so it's a dead end. Let's do something else. Something like that.
Great. So I cannot see any other questions, so we can close our Q&A session. And now I would like to say huge thank you to our speaker, Andrew, for such a useful session, for sharing your experience and your knowledge with our audience. Also, I would like to thank our audience for joining us, watching us, and asking questions. And maybe I also would like to highlight one more time that the conference is being streamed from the official YouTube channel of the Global VA community. Here you will find recordings of our past events, interviews, and a lot of other cool content. So subscribe to this channel. Also follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn. All links are in the description of today's event. And join us and stay up to date.
Okay, thank you very much for having me, and thanks for the interesting questions.
Thank you. See you soon.
See you. Bye.